adaptive emotions, adaptive feelings are feelings that come up to help us adapt. They come up to help us move through whatever it is we're going through. And so if we have negative experiences with those emotions, i.e., I feel sad, and then my church or parents or grandparents say, you need to suck it up, can't be sad, can't be sensitive. The next step would be like, well, when anytime that primary emotion comes up again, we can tend to try to avoid it. We can tend to push it down. Um, and then, what that can look like. For some people, that can look like literally smiling or laughing when they're talking about something sad,
Mhm.
or avoiding sad topics altogether, like literally getting up and leaving or changing the subject. And so I find that it can be helpful to like give clients this language so that they can just realize it and be aware of when it's happening. I'm Kim.
And I'm Camille, and this is Enneagram for the Culture, where two dope Black therapists discuss how therapy, Blackness, and the Enneagram come together.
Hi, Camille.
Hi, Kim.
How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to have you here. So, Kim is actually in Raleigh, and she's at
Um,
my office.
mhm.
So you're right next door, and another right across the wall from me right now.
Yeah, I think we're still too nervous about trying to record in the same room. We'll have to ask for some help to figure out how to do that to make sure we don't get feedback. But we're still closer than we normally are. It's just like
Mhm.
you're just one wall away.
As opposed to many miles away.
Mhm.
So
And with my
it's fun having you here.
on your day, we're talking about your type.
Yep, type 7s, here we go.
You ready? Let's do it.
I'm ready. Yes, I remember you said this about type 3 when we were doing 3s, that it feels different today than it did the first time. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it feels different. It never feels like, "Yay," but it but it feels different. It feels not as scary.
Yeah. Look
Yeah,
at us.
look at the growth.
Mhm. All right.
Okay, so let's jump in. How did the Enneagram show up for you?
Yeah,
What are you seeing?
I did a fast. I normally try to do a fast every year. It's something that I grew up in my home church doing. So we would do an annual prayer retreat around the fall, around October. And so as a congregation, like before going up to the mountains for that retreat, we would fast first. And so um that's something that I've just kind of continued to do just for myself. So I had my fast and it was really, really, really good. But one of the sermons that I listened to while I was fasting, the title of it is called Treasure Over Trophies. And it just seemed like this preacher wrote this sermon was specifically and especially for threes. Pretty
Okay.
much the whole point of the sermon was for us to be reminded that it's not trophies that we should be after, that it's a treasure, and that treasure is what's within us. And he said a number of like really important points that like resonated with me, but one that's standing out is just how trophies over time they lose their luster and they tarnish. Yeah, they get old
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
true.
And if you think about it, like, um, yeah, you can just forget. I feel like in the sermon he asked who won the Super Bowl 2 years ago or something like that. And so yeah, like if you're really into football, you may remember, but for the most part, the point is like wins, like it's not something that you remember forever, right? So um to just shift your focus and to be in pursuit of um, your treasure and not trophies. Yeah.
I like that.
It
That's
was
really
really
cool.
it was really good. I'll link it so that others can listen if you guys want to. But it was a good message.
Dropping a good word. Thanks, Kim. Thank you,
I hope
thank
you
you.
Mhm. What about you?
Um, Mine, how it's shown up for me recently. So a client actually taught me this. He was telling me that they do this with his family at dinner time where they go high, low, and a buffalo for the day. And buffalo is something random. So tell us a high of your day, a low of your day, and then a buffalo, something random that you just want to share. And I loved it. And so I have started actually, if I have a client that like maybe for whatever reason we haven't seen each other like in a month or like a little bit longer, just to kind of like jump through the like quick, like, how's it been for the last month? I'll do high, low, buffalo. And sometimes like the low ends up being what we need to talk about or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's been something I've started incorporating. And then I've even started doing it with like friends. Like if I haven't seen a
Oh,
friend in a while or anything, I'll be like, okay, high, low, buffalo of the week or the week or the last month. And so people have started it, obviously doing it back to me. And I've noticed that like it takes me so long to think of a low. Like I like I'll be like, oh yeah, I've got all like I'll be like, oh hi, got it. Buffalo. Yep, sure. I could talk about a million things with buffaloes. But the low, I'm always like, what
Mm,
is my low of the last month or the last week or the day? And just like how funny that is that it like takes me a minute to really like even tap into the low.
yep, yep, yep. I was wondering where we were going with this as far as it tying into your type, but here we are. That is it for sure. For sure. Practice though.
Yep.
Keep it up.
It's good practice because sometimes I'll be like, because it's not quick enough. It's that's probably another way it shows up. And so when I think of the low, I'm like, oh, I can't think of anything. Okay, I don't know. I have nothing. But then
Yeah.
if it's like I have to like be like, nope, sit there for a second.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, here's a low. But it is practice for me to like even think of the low.
We should do it now.
Now, high low buffalo. Okay, well, you start. What's your high low buffalo of the last week?
Oh.
Well, no, or you could do high low buffalo of the for the podcast for the season since this is we're nearing the end.
Okay. Um, the high for me for this season, I think it's been yeah, I think it's been hearing that like so our process, we record, and we talk about the amazing team that we have working with us. And so we have our editor Cress, who will go in, edit, and then send a draft to us for us to listen. I think that's probably been the high for me is because like we've rarely had edits that we sent back to him this season. Like,
Yeah.
it sounds really good. And I think just like listening to us sounds really good. Like
Mhm.
I'm just I continue to be really proud of us. Even like before we got on here to record, I was looking over our notes for today and I like it's been a while since we made them. And I was like, gosh, this is good. So yeah, just that validation and the reminders that we know what we're doing and we sound good and it feels good. And it's just something that I'm proud of. So um listening to the drafts, I think that's been the high. Low, um, probably recording the first episode of the
Yeah.
season. That was hard. It was really hard. Um, so I'll probably say that was the low.
Mhm.
And then Buffalo. So it's something random.
Anything random you want to share? It could be anything about like any reaction or memory or something you want to share, thought that you've had about the podcast.
Mm. Mm, that one's hard. Yeah, I might need some time. And that may have something to do with like my personality.
It doesn't have a
Um,
purpose. So you're like, what's the purpose of
so
this?
So
Where
I'll
are you
keep
going?
thinking.
What's the goal of
This
this?
doesn't seem effective. This doesn't seem productive. This doesn't seem efficient.
Listen, though, sometimes the buffalo, I've had clients who will do the high, the low, the buffalo ends up being the thing that we talk about. So don't knock
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
No, no knocking. I just don't have anything yet.
Okay, I'll go while you think.
Okay.
So my high for this season with the podcast has been I've just liked all of the episodes and I've liked that I have felt like the episodes have been applicable for everybody. Like I don't feel like if
Mm.
you're a 5 that you wouldn't get something from listening to the 2, 1,
Yeah.
9 episodes. Like I feel like all of the episodes I think that you can grab something from. I've grabbed something from every conversation. And I know I'm honestly guilty sometimes of Enneagram stuff of just like getting to the 7 stuff and not looking at anybody else's.
Yeah.
So anybody that's listening that's like, oh, I do that, don't worry, I do it too. And so I've found that our content has been applicable for so many.
Mhm.
That's my high. My low has been social media.
Mhm.
I and you know this, I've complained about it. Like shout out to our team. Again, we have an amazing team. Like Neff and LaDonna like do so much amazing work to create our images and our copy and all this stuff for social media. And they're trying, they do the reels, but Instagram has not been letting us be great. And
Yeah.
like the algorithm just sort of doesn't let our stuff actually be seen.
Yeah.
Where we might have a lot of followers, but people aren't seeing the stuff. And it makes me so mad, sad, disappointed, frustrated that like they do so much work to create cool stuff and it's not being seen.
Yeah.
And that frustrates me because I just want their stuff to get the props that it deserves.
Yeah.
So that's my low. So if anybody's listening and you see our stuff, comment just so they can that's my also little plug. My buffalo would be something random. I feel like this season we recorded differently. We like it took us longer to record the episodes but I've liked it. Like it's okay. And it's been almost like a good practice for me of not feeling so regimented and being like,
Mhm.
no, it's okay that it's taking longer. Like we're fine. So that would be my buffalo.
Okay. Yeah. So going back to the social media, that's been a good challenge for me to just stay in touch with what feels like true for us and true for our brand and true for our voice and not be so. I think this is like what can cause anxiety for me with social media in general is just like likes. And so it's been a good practice to just stick with regardless of the attention it may get, or the likes that it may or may not get, or the eyes that it may or may not get to see it, for us to just, be in touch with what feels like is on brand and true for us. But you're right, that has been frustrating. Um, the only thing I can think of as far as random was just how um, obsessed I felt about the bar analogy. And when I tried to like come up with some context so that our listeners and audience could like understand what I was like, what we're trying to convey. And so, of course, the whiz is where I kind of landed, and I feel like that's kind of random.
I like that one. See, the buffalo is a good one because that was a piece of information that I liked. Like, yeah, you were, it worked and it was good. And
Yeah.
so I like that buffalo.
That was cute. Of course, I'm going to see this.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great like tool. Shout out to that client. I like because of course you've always heard like roses and thorns,
Uh-huh.
all those things, but I love the buffalo edition because it really sometimes is an interesting thing that someone will share is in the
Yeah.
buffalo, or it can be something random. Like I've been watching this TV show and I'm really like it, and you're like, okay, cool.
Speaking of which, I got back on American Horror Story. I know you don't like scary stuff, and I know that it's probably conversation probably won't go too far because you
Okay.
really don't like scary stuff. But I mean, it's just another Buffalo, another
That
Buffalo.
might be the end of that conversation because I don't have anything else to say. That's awesome. I'm really glad that you're watching that.
Oh, all right.
Let's jump in. The
Let's
randoms, look at you leading into your random energy, your
try.
seven
I'm
energy.
trying.
You've
I'm
got all
trying.
kinds of things to talk about, TV shows.
Trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. That's going to be my area for growth is to try to be more comfortable with being random. I'm really not a very random person.
God, I'm so random. I'm really random. But it's not random in my head.
Right.
I think I saw a meme. Speaking of sevens, I saw a meme about sevens, and it was like someone was like, "I would truly love to like live in your brain for a second just to see what is happening in there." Like it's so many.
I don't think I would know. It seems like it's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
Tell us about it.
It's kind of fun. It's random. That's what it really is. So sevens, let's jump in. Let's do a quick little overview of what sevens are all about. And if you want to go back and get a deeper dive on sevens, we do that on season 1, episode 11. So for just if we want to hear this really quickly, for sevens, the primary motivation is being satisfied and comfortable. And the primary fear is being like without or stuck, or sadness. And the sevens are called the epicure or the enthusiast. And they are kind of the optimist on the Enneagram circle, kind of very optimistic, positive thinking, forward thinking, really into newness and adventure, very encouraging of others, afraid
Mm,
of negative, or not, well, a little bit afraid, but also mostly avoiding negative feelings, avoiding boredom. That's another one of the
mm.
fears. Struggles to slow down sometimes, has a fear of missing out. I think that's really kind of a little summary on the sevens.
Good stuff.
We're in the head triad. So in the thinking triad, the last number of the thinking triad. So 5, 6, 7. And so today's our last little one on the thinking triad.
Yep. All right. So the holy idea for sevens. And so this is when sevens are not holding on to that bar. They've released it. They're not over identifying with their type or their armor. Um, the holy idea for sevens is wisdom. And that means this this belief that life can be experienced fully on a spectrum and that there is a plan that includes you and your well-being and that it's okay to just be present and in the moment. Um, I think sevens, well, you were just talking about some insight as far as like what it's like to be in your brain. But and we'll get into this a little like going right into the fixation and planning, but sevens can be very future oriented and sometimes past oriented too, but kind of in an effort to feel a sense of like security, can really become preoccupied with planning. And so the holy idea in this kind of trusting that happens, it promotes and allows for sevens to be more present and in the moment.
Mhm. Yeah. I really like with the holy idea too, like that life can be experienced on a spectrum.
Hmm.
And we'll kind of get to that later on one of the
Hmm.
practical tips. But that there is good and hard and all of that can exist kind of on a spectrum. It all can be there, which leads to that wisdom place.
Yeah.
Um, so the fixation, so when a seven is clinging onto that bar really, really tightly, what the cognitive habit that happens is planning, is the word planning. And so that means that there's this ego-led state that one has to constantly be moving forward and thinking about the next experience to avoid feeling negative emotions. Um, the ego led part of that means that that planning habit or focus, cognitive focus, can be um, is a protective like tool. It is functioning as a way to protect the seven from feeling the uncertainty or the possible negative feeling that might happen. And so the planning happens to prevent that.
Mhm.
And that is driven by this scarcity mindset, this mindset that, oh no, I won't be taken care of. I won't be okay. I will never have fun again.
Mhm.
It comes from that place of not enoughness in whatever. And so the planning happens to try and prevent that. This is just like all the numbers that we've talked about. This is almost a really unconscious move.
Mhm.
It just sort of habit happens. It's a habit. And so, and I yes, I can co-sign that. When I start to feel a little bit uncertain, I really move straight into what's next, what can I plan next, what's the like order of things, how can I arrange fun, how can I
Yeah.
create fun and like plan it. And so it can get again very habitual.
Mhm.
When I lose sight of that, I will be taken care of, I will be okay. When I lose sight of that life happens on a spectrum, um, I will go into that place. With
Mhm.
the sevens, that's our fixation.
The virtue for sevens is sobriety or constancy. And so again, it goes back to this notion that you can be present, you can be mindful. So it's this ability to just to stay present without needing to escape what's in the moment. And being able to let go of the insatiable need for more, as Camille was just talking about, and being able to just appreciate and really savor. I love that word, savor what is.
Yeah, I know that. And then the passion for sevens. So this is more of the emotional, like habit or emotional um, thing that will sort of happen when we lose sight of the holy idea is gluttony. And that word is talking about the insatiable hunger for stimulating experiences of all kinds. I love in both of those, the virtue and the passion, we use the word insatiable.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty key, meaning
Mhm.
that it's like there's a need for more. I want more. Um, I never loved the word gluttony when I learned about
Mhm.
sevens because no one likes, and I also didn't love the word sobriety,
Mhm.
um, because those feel, those aren't great. I mean, sobriety is a great word, but it makes it feel like, oh, was something bad happening before, but that gluttony can be around food and drink. And then it, especially when you look at like self-preservation types,
Mm.
um, for sevens, it can look like that, but then it also really can just be for stimulating experiences.
Mhm.
So that gluttony for all of the things, all of the fun, all of the deep conversations, all of the stimulating activities, and being kind of gluttonous on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that probably all what's been helpful about this season is I always thought that, oh, gluttony, sobriety, like those are like so like shameful.
Yep.
But all of the numbers
Yep.
had words that are shameful in quotation
Yep.
marks. They're not shameful, but they are things that we don't love talking about or admitting or having our business out there like that.
Mhm.
And so as we've gone around the circle this season, just noticing those words and being like, yeah, those aren't fun words, like for
Mhm.
anybody. We talked about avarice for fives and deceit and anger and pride. Like those are all things, words that like we all sort of bristle at. And so that helped me, I guess, like not shame myself for those words of like gluttony and sobriety. Um, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Understandable. Um, and I agree that it's been a bit of a relief to explore this concept like for all the numbers and kind of feel that and understand that and be able to kind of yeah have empathy being a three and hearing deceit and it's like the worst thing right and so like you just said to kind of go around and feel that for each number um there's and we talked about this like from the beginning is one of the reasons we do really um rock with this tool and I think again one of the reasons it is so effective is because it does have a way of shedding light and calling out with grace and compassion some of the things that can be really hard or even that we can tend to not want to see or pay attention to. So,
Or we're embarrassed to see or pay attention to.
yeah.
Even if we know it's true, it's sort of like, I don't like, don't talk about that.
Mhm, mhm,
um,
mhm. Yeah. So I think it's important to just as a reminder for all of us to be aware of the discomfort as you're reading or listening or and continuing to learn to just anytime you're reading or hear something that it feels kind of like ooh just that stings a little or that's that ouch right to not that's a part of the work so try not to it can be very tempting to like um brush over that or quickly move on to the next thing we talk about how going back to social media and the enneagram um so much of what's out there really only scratches the surface because that's what's comfortable and that's what's fun so again like kudos to all of us for still being here and still digging deep and trying to like learn and grow because it is uncomfortable but yeah like when you hear some of those things and read some of those things and you feel that discomfort to like do yourself yeah a service and like honor it and pay attention, take care of it, stay open and be curious.
mm, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Hey, so a part of our hope is to really connect with you guys. So we want to know what you're getting from this and what you want to learn more about on this podcast.
You can connect with Camille on Instagram at camille.logan.lcmhc.
And you can find Kim on Instagram at KReeseLCSW.
And you can follow us both on Instagram at Enneagram for the Culture. We've dropped the links in the show notes, so check those out too. And while you're there, go ahead and bless us with a rating and a review. Subscribe so you can be notified when our new episodes drop weekly, and share this with someone you know. We'll see you around.
So how does all of this, the wisdom, the planning, the sobriety, gluttony, how does that show up for our Black sevens?
mhm. So for one, so we've already kind of touched on a little bit on something impactful for sevens, especially emotions. And to be more specific, the like not fun emotions, if there is such a thing. But that can be really hard for sevens.
Definitely. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna I knew you were gonna say there's doubt.
Of course, there's less fun emotion. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm on my couch under a weighted blanket because I'm sad, I don't know if that's necessarily fun. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then, maybe fours would disagree. Maybe fours would disagree. I don't know. Um, so yes, something impacts us emotionally.
Agree to disagree.
You know how I feel about. I mean, and I'm a heart type, right? So I'm just like feelings are great. No, I know that they're not all fun, but they're so important. And
Well, I know that feelings are
I know that
important,
you know that. I know that
and
you know
I know
that.
that they all serve a purpose, but some of them are not fun.
I know. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
Don't, we can't, fun is a very important word to a 7. So we can't be putting the word fun on certain things that are not fun.
Yep. Let me rephrase. So
Please
when
use our favorite word accurately.
when it comes to emotions, that can be hard.
It's,
That
I
can be
get that.
challenging.
We're
Yeah, that can be
uncomfortable.
challenging. Yep.
Mhm.
To navigate that. We all are still faced with, whether we want to or not. Um, it can be really hard. So it can be common for us as a people, as Black people in general, due to messaging and conditioning about emotions, that if you allow yourself to feel or express or be in touch with your emotions, that that's a sign of weakness, or that that's a sensitivity thing, and that you can't be sensitive as a Black person, or that we don't have time to feel. There's too much work to do, too much to overcome, too much to fight for us to like be just sitting around letting ourselves feel under a weighted blanket on our couch. Um, or and I hear this come up a lot with sevens, as we like, kind of peel back their experiences with emotions. And that's this fear that if we allow ourselves to feel, that we'll like, that's it, right? So we allow ourselves to feel sadness and we won't ever not feel sad. That will just be kind of drowning in the sadness or in the fear. Um,
And I
and
think that also like then ties into the fear of being stuck.
Mhm.
So or sevens, I will feel afraid that I'm going to get stuck in this sad emotion or hard emotion or not fun emotion, and I'm just going to get stuck there forever. And
Mhm.
and sevens, one of our fears is being stuck.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep. I wish you guys could see Camille's face as she's talking. Stuck and
Face of disgust.
disgusted. So, so this is how it can show up for Black sevens. So just to kind of summarize, Black people in general, we can have this kind of complicated relationship with emotions, again, because of messaging and because of how we've been conditioned, because of injustices, because of white supremacy, like all of that stuff impacting how we relate to and understand our emotions. So yeah, it's kind of mirroring something that we see in sevens that we can see across the board in Black people. Many of my clients, we end up talking about affect phobia, and it's one of those things that you see the light bulb go off for clients when you explain to them that there's this thing called affect phobia, where you're like literally there's a fear of feelings, fear of emotions, and so breaking that down with clients and allowing them to have an image that I'll show them. It's a triangle, and it just kind of goes through that process of like how it starts. We at some point probably have a negative experience, um, an adaptive emotion. And so adaptive emotions, adaptive feelings are feelings that come up to help us adapt. They come up to help us move through whatever it is we're going through. And so if we have negative experiences with those emotions, i.e., I feel sad, and then my church or parents or grandparents say, you need to suck it up, can't be sad, can't be sensitive. The next step would be like, well, when anytime that primary emotion comes up again, we can tend to try to avoid it. We can tend to push it down. And then, what that can look like. For some people, that can look like literally smiling or laughing when they're talking about something sad, or avoiding sad topics altogether, like literally getting up and leaving or changing the subject. And so I find that it can be helpful to like give clients this language so that they can just realize it and be aware of when it's happening.
Yeah. Yes. And then again, also how this can show up for Black people, kind of piggybacking, kind of dovetailing from what you just said, is that fear of emotions can then also turn into a behavior, not only like you said, getting up or having a smile on your face, even though you're talking about something sad, that, but also having this, and for sevens in particular, having this energy to want to like drive and to avoid and to cope, but like in this hustle way, like, and that's the planning. And so wanting to say like, okay, well, if I can do this or I can do that, like, it's, and it's also that kind of is also part of the anxiety, which sevens are in that head triad. And so we have a relationship with anxiety. And so this like, again, I'm using my hands to do this. Like, it's almost like a emotion, like an energy in my body of like wanting to hustle, to avoid, or to cope with these emotions. And so for Black people, kind of the fear of the emotion or the lack of knowledge around the emotion can turn into us sort of hustling, or trying to fix, to try and avoid or cope with the emotion that we're feeling.
Mhm. Mhm. That totally resonates with me even,
Mhm.
as a 3. And I think just in general for Black people, for a lot of Black people, and this kind of leads a little into our next point about how this intersects with Blackness for sevens. Our as a people, our capacity to like take, I want to say shit. I'm going to say shit, and then turn it into like something else. So, the discomfort of hard feelings and turning that into, like you said, this fuel to um plan, or for me, probably like crank out work. Um, and as a people, joy. Black people, we have a way of finding joy in anything. And
And good joy, like really, really funny. Really funny joy.
it's
As we're
beautiful.
talking about this too, we're also potentially mourning the death of Black Twitter that might die soon because of everything that's like going on. And the memes about that, like the memes of the funeral that's happening right now.
I haven't seen it.
It's
I
so
haven't seen it.
sad.
I
I
haven't
will
seen
send
it.
you some of this of like people talking about like, well, since we're gonna have a Twitter funeral, like who's gonna sing, who's gonna dance, like, what are we gonna dress like?
I mean, it is so, I love that about us. My mom, who isn't on Twitter, she may be on, she's not a big social media person, but we'll have like stuff that happens in the world and she'll text me and she'll be like, what's Black Twitter saying? And I'll send her, the memes, because I just feel like it's so, nobody does that like us.
Nobody does it like us. And like, and not only on Black Twitter, but like it's in
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
conversations, it's
Yep.
in our looks when we look at somebody and just give them a
Yeah.
little glance. Like it's you're already
It could be people you don't know. Like, it doesn't even have to be like someone that you're close with. Like, there have been so many times where I'm just out, like at a restaurant or somewhere public, and something happens, and I see another Black person in the space. We don't have to say anything. We just lock, and we already know, and we can crack up about it. I mean, it's. I love that about us.
It's so good. I love it. It's great. And again, it happens all the time. I mean, it's just the nature. I think I did really agree with this. I know in our episode that we did with Chi Chi, and she talked about like what's probably the like numbers for each kind of a culture. And
Yeah,
she said that
yeah,
she was like, Black Americans are probably a 7. Like
yeah.
it's this ability to just start laughing and to make joy and to dance. But then it also, I do think that like there's the wisdom there too, and there's the like ability to have those like
Yeah.
deep conversations and to really actually feel when we let ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's that like natural tendency to just automatically silver lining and just crack up about something and find the joy in it and find the ability to like make lemonade out of lemons.
Exactly. Um, so that could be the whole point, but it's not. So
Yes,
we just got to just say, just that could be a slippery slope.
it can be a slippery slope. It can be a really, yes, I also coast as much as I love it and as much as I love it. It can be a really slippery slope.
You just said as much as I love it and as much as I love it.
Just both, underline, bold. I love it, but it can also be a slippery slope.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta be cautious. Cautious may be kind of a strong word, but maybe aware.
Yeah.
And some of the things we're saying, like mindful, present, enough to realize when we are doing that and it's, we're doing a disservice to ourselves or our community or our people. Because something else that I feel like Black people do really well, you mentioned the Twitter funeral, like Black people, we when it comes to like the Black church and honoring somebody who's no longer physically here with us, like we know how to, we know how to celebrate life. We know how to take at least, for that moment, grieve. And so it's important for us to make space for both. Without that, the joy is not really joy. It becomes this like superficial, kind of hollow, like fake thing. And so I think that, that absolutely is relevant for sevens as well, to not lose sight of the fact that, to have an appreciation for the joys in life means that you have to be able to experience and tolerate and go through the hardships. It makes the joy so much more joyous when you allow yourself to like go through those harder, tougher times. So Black people, like, we gonna keep doing what we do, but also let's be intentional about like honoring, when this stuff really is hard, and not being too quick to just laugh it off.
Yeah, because I think that goes back to the whole idea of the spectrum. And when for me personally, but it's something I talk to clients a lot about, is that like our emotions are on a spectrum,
Mhm.
and that sometimes it's almost like a rubber band. Like we can't, like if I'm going to feel the high highs, it stretches the other way. I need to stretch it the other way into the lows. And if I only try and stretch it to the
Mhm.
highs and forget the lows, I'm actually not going to be able to stretch very far. Like,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining this right,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
so like both have to happen. It has to stretch in a spectrum. And again, the whole idea is life can exist on a spectrum. And I love that about the funerals, because joy, there's all those quotes, joy and sadness are sisters that live under the same roof.
Mhm.
Like, there's a beautiful poem that I'll sometimes use with clients. It's The Prophet. And I actually learned it because I was listening to a podcast about sevens, and it was talking about how they share, they're connected, and that when joy is awake, sadness is asleep, and when sadness is awake, joy is asleep, but they go together, they're interrelated. And I love that. And I
Yeah,
love
that's
that
beautiful.
recognition that like for us to laugh as hard as we can and to be joyful as much as we can, it's because we do experience, and we have to allow the sad moments to be there. And when sevens can step out of the fixation and the passion, we can actually really tap into that in a really beautiful and deep way with that wisdom, because that's what we like want in our heart space all along anyway.
Yeah. When I shared with you some of like what I've been going through, like the hardest times of my life, and your reaction, like I think I told like I wasn't expecting you to be so empathetic. Um, you really like felt for me. And that just meant the world to me. So yeah, to to just highlight like what you just said, that sevens do have this capacity to definitely like go deep and feel the uncomfortable feelings. I think you've said this before, it may not necessarily be relevant in all of the relationships, especially the ones where you're not quite as close or feel as secure. But I guess I just want to share like being in relationship with you with a seven and having gone through some really really hard stuff and sharing that with you as a friend, to feel you feel for me in the way that you did, like it blew me away and it meant a lot, means a lot.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate those words, and it means a lot. And um yeah, it's interesting because like even you bringing that up, like I start to well up thinking about it again, and um, so yeah, it is like it is a spectrum,
Yeah.
and being able to allow ourselves to feel the hard with our people and our friends and our world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah, because I remember when you shared some stuff, I remember I, like, thought about you, I thought about them, I thought about the world, like, I thought about like, I just, like it got sad on a big level,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
um, but then also can, you know that it'll be okay and know that, like, there is stuff to be thankful for and know that there's stuff to be joyful for and to know, like, all that stuff can exist as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thanks, friend, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's like I said, it's important to highlight because people can miss that and, again, going back to some of what can tend to be really showcased about sevens, it doesn't always capture the depth, that because, sevens are so optimistic, it doesn't capture that sevens can absolutely have the capacity to not necessarily like live in the positive or live in a silver lining, to be present with grief and sorrow and sadness and hard stuff. And I just want to say that it meant so much. It means so much, um, coming from you.
Mhm. 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 That was sad. Let's go do something.
Yeah, which totally works for me.
Yes. All of that. So yeah, so that's the slippery slope, being aware of it, knowing that there's a spectrum, all of that. Um, our next point on how it shows up for Black sevens is fear. And so this, I don't think I talked about this in season one, but when I learned that sevens were in the thinking triad and that we deal with anxiety, and I think this is what you felt too about
Mhm.
like when you learned like fear of failure, you're like, no, that's not me. When I heard like, oh, anxiety, I was like, no, I'm not anxious. I'm not afraid of anything. Because I work so hard to not be.
Yeah.
And you work so hard not to
Yep.
fail that you're like, no, not an issue.
Yep.
And so the fear part of the sevenness can sometimes not land. And then for Black people, again, like when we're here cutting up on Twitter or we're here doing all this
Mhm.
fun stuff, like sometimes we can avoid that, like there's actually a fear here. There's actually an
Mhm.
anxiety here that we are desperately trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, just being aware of that. And what we have here is that like fear is no fun. Again, that's not a fun emotion. There's another one that I
Just
think
Camille's notes.
nobody
Camille wrote that,
you're like,
y'all.
yeah, I love feeling anxious. It's so fun. No, it's not fun. And so it can be like we can want to avoid it or at least not name it. But when we have to slow down and say, like, no, there is a fear around whatever it is that's happening in the world or in our lives or individually, and just being able to name and notice that.
Mhm.
And then how does it show up for Black sevens? Again, we also have avoidance being real, very real. I will tell you that it is, again, subconscious. If I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see a story that is sad, I will so quickly, like my fingers move so quickly to scroll. I'm like, I'm done. Like it's just like, nope, not happening. Or and then I like forget it. Like someone will be like, remember when I told you that? And I'm like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, wow, gone. Um, there's certain news stories that like I just don't dig into. Like I might
Mhm.
like hear it, but I'm like, nope, nope, not going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And so that avoidance piece that can happen for sevens in general, but then again for Black sevens, there's a lot of things that we can avoid. And there's a lot of news and there's a lot of stuff that we can just avoid. And again, that's subconscious. Like it really, I've noticed how fast my hand moves just on Instagram. But then me noticing that has made me notice even sometimes in conversations or in whatever, like if I'm just not no, people love documentaries. I think we've talked about this. People love documentaries and then they love to talk about them. And I'm like, mm-mm, I don't want to hear about that. Like, I'd rather not. And that's just me. I do know some sevens that love documentaries, but the avoidance piece, just noticing for yourself what you automatically avoid, the ways that you just subconsciously will be like, no, thank you. Not into it. Don't want to hear that. Mm-mm.
That's good. Really, really good. Really important for all of us
Yeah.
to be aware of what that looks like for us, what that feels like for us when
Mhm.
we're trying to quickly keep scrolling right past it. Again, it's not about like forcing yourself to
Mhm.
endure as it is. We're just saying, hey, try to be more aware of it.
Mhm.
Um, and even that, that's a step towards doing something about the avoidance, just being aware of it. So,
Yes, yes, yes. And speaking to community, you can like I've sometimes will say to people like, I can't look at that today, or I can't
mhm,
because again, part of the avoidance is the fear that I'm gonna get stuck here or that I'm gonna get dragged down into this negative piece of information. And so there might be yeah, I can think of distinct news situations where I will see the news and then I will know that I cannot go here right now.
mhm,
Because if I do, I'm going to be laying in my bed for the rest of the day and I got to go to work. And
mhm,
other people can maybe look at it and go, and I can't. And so I will maybe say, like, I'll look at that later. Like, don't send me any more stuff around that. Um,
mhm,
and so
mhm.
again, even when we're thinking about like those misconceptions, like sometimes for sevens, people think like, oh, they're just avoiding it. It's like, no, because if I really look at it, I'm probably gonna start crying. And I don't want to do that. So, or at least not right now.
Yeah.
Um, so I need to kind of avoid it. So sometimes the avoidance is like necessary depending on our day. But again, just knowing yourself and knowing when am I avoiding, and when can I come back to something later, all of that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's something that comes up in therapy.
Mhm.
Um, Clients can feel like, when we call out avoidance, we're saying that you shouldn't do it, and that's not it. You just want to be because, like you just said, avoidance it can be functional at times. It can serve a purpose. Like, yeah, you can't necessarily like get super duper sad, and then especially for you and I, part of our jobs as clinicians is to come into sessions with clients and be regulated. So there may be times where we do like we literally like we have to put stuff that can be emotionally charging for us on hold. We may have to avoid it so that we can prioritize other like necessary things that need to come first.
Mhm.
So what I always try to say to clients is, it's not so much that you have to avoid avoiding. Again, you want to be aware of when you're doing it. And ideally don't perpetually avoid it,
Mhm.
right? At some point, be intentional about circling back around and allowing yourself to feel,
Yeah, the circle back
honoring how you
is
feel.
probably the big thing for sevens, black people, like laugh, joke, avoid, but then come back to it if you need to. Like come back to it, not if you need to, but come back to it and allow the spectrum to
Yeah.
be real,
Yeah.
and to be present.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Practical tips because we love for things to be practical.
Yes.
Um, so knowing you won't get stuck.
Mhm.
We've said that a few times that is a real fear for sevens, for most of us, many of us, when it comes to feelings is, well, if I open this, our clients refer to this Pandora's box, right? If I allow some of the feelings to come to the surface, then that's it. I'm just going to be stuck, and I'll always feel sad. I'll always be afraid. I'll
Mhm.
always feel guilt. I'll always feel shame, and to just hear us and know that that's just not how feelings work. They come and they go. And so that can be challenging when you're in the habit of perpetually avoiding your feelings, because by the time you allow yourself to feel, it's something that you've been compartmentalizing or avoiding or putting off for so long that it can feel like a lot. It can feel intense. So just trust and know that that's not how we're wired. Um, the way emotions work is they, like we said, they come and they go. And so when you can make room for them, honor them, again, it's going to be uncomfortable. As Camille has made very, very clear, some of these feelings will not be fun.
Thank you, Kit.
But it won't last forever.
It will not
Will
last
not last
forever.
forever. And it will probably not even last as long as you. I know we just said it won't last forever. So a lot, like, we're afraid it's going to last forever, but it's not going to last that long. It's just not going to last that long. You're going to feel, and you'll probably be surprised as to, one, how much of a relief it can be to just allow yourself to face some of the feelings that maybe, you have been putting off. But you'll move through it. You'll move through it. So make that a practice.
Yes. I would say too that a little bit, like, we didn't write this down, but we kind of talked about this with some other numbers, but not using your fixation to try and like do the thing that you're supposed to do. So like, don't plan to be like, okay, I'm going to be sad for 2 days and then I'm going to keep it moving. Like, you don't get to use your tool of survival on the thing that you're trying to do better at. Like, that's you like using the like bad thing to, I don't know how to say this, but don't do that. I just remember talking about this with threes of like, don't be vulnerable, like to like show that you're not vulnerable. But like, don't do that. Like, so for sevens, for us, like, don't plan like, okay, I'm going to go to 3 therapy sessions and then I'm going to journal and then I'm going to go away to a cabin in the woods and then I'm going to be done with this emotion. Like, and I say this so confidently because I have thought that is how you do this. Like, let me plan to be sad. And it doesn't work like that. So again, releasing the bar, even in that work, releasing the bar on planning, to allow the spectrum to happen, that like, it's a wave and I will be taken care of, and that there's good and there's bad and it's both and it's all, like, all of that has to happen without you still holding the bar. So
it's a really good point.
Yeah.
People do that
trying to get shortcuts.
Yeah,
We all
do that a lot. People do that a lot. We do that a lot. Be it like that example you just gave, or, something hard happens and we say, okay, I'm going to give myself X amount of time to like feel bad about it. And then that's it. And it's just like, no, that's not even, I can let that ride if that's like a step towards you working to feel more, but that's really not what we're trying to do. You want to, if a hard thing happens and it's been 3 years since that hard thing happened, and there's something that reminds you of that hard thing, it can be so just dishonoring, I guess, not good to yourself to say, oh, I shouldn't let myself feel because that was 3 years ago. So just another example of this, like, how we can try to, like you just said, try to plan to feel or when to feel. And that's not it. We want to, like, if it happens, if it's been 3 years, if it's been 5, if it's been 10 years, people really get hung up on like, what does it mean to like heal? What does healing mean? I mean, that's an element of it, is whenever you're reminded of, or you feel, you know how to like be attentive to that and take care of it and honor it. And then again, like trusting that you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna keep it going. Like the feeling is gonna come and then it's gonna go.
Another practical tip for sevens and all of us in general is, again, going back to that spectrum. This is actually something that I've recently been working on. So this is fun to talk about, but that our joy or goodness can also be on a spectrum. So not every meal, trip, conversation, day, event has to be at a 10 out of 10 positive experience. And that sometimes some things are at a 5 or a 6 or 7 or an 8, and it's still a positive experience. It just doesn't have to be all the way at a 10. And so again, even noticing the spectrum of joy, because sometimes what can happen for sevens if it's at a 6, it's like, that was horrible. And it's like, no, it just wasn't at a 10. Like, and 6 is still good. And then crazy idea, sometimes things are at a 4 and a 3 and a 2. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But even allowing the spectrum to exist for the positive experiences.
Mhm.
And noticing for yourself as a 7, the times that you maybe are bummed out about an experience, really actually pausing and actually putting a number to it and being like, actually, that was actually a 7.
Mm.
And that's actually still positive. So like we're good. And again, probably other numbers are listening to this and being like, that is so bizarre. But it's true. Like it really will feel like if this isn't a 10, it's trash. And it's like, no, it can be a 6 or a 7 of still a positive time.
Yeah.
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 And I think that goes to like the gluttony of it. Like it's like
Right.
the gluttony of I want it to be the best conversation and the best meal and the best day. And I want to just be skipping around, smelling wildflowers, and life is good. And it's like life can be okay. Or life can be a 6 out of 10 today. And that is still positive. 6 out of 10 is positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking about fours.
Mm.
How we talk about it's a good practice for fours being, our idealists and um having a tendency to see what's missing in things or how things can be better. And so that practice of really just being present and aware and observing all of the ways things are just maybe mundane, kind of in the middle. So I talk with clients about like getting gray. Um, that's what I'm reminded of as I'm hearing you talk about that. Some similarities there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talked about that with fours. Like I remember being like, yeah, I get this part of it. Like
Hmm.
wanting everything to be this grand, big emotional experience for them. And then for me, it's more so for sevens, it's sometimes more about the positivity or
Yeah.
the joy of the experience.
Yeah.
Um,
So what else we got? Allowing yourself to be to be comfortable not knowing. So allowing yourself to feel the discomfort of not knowing. Um, so again, the sevens are in the head triad with our fives and our sixes. And these types, I mean, we all like to know, but these types are especially um, reliant at times on knowing, on information. And so it can be necessary and helpful to practice doing things that challenge that. For sevens, it's probably a really good area to practice that would be boredom, because it's uncomfortable, and a part of that discomfort is, not knowing when it's going to end or what's going to be next. So, to practice that in that way, to allow yourself to feel the discomfort of not knowing what's going to happen next, so that you can feel that you will survive it, And you can be reminded in the future, right? When there may be times where you don't have plans, it's not at a 10. You don't necessarily know it all. That you can that we can increase your thinking about the window of tolerance because I talk about it so much with clients, but just yeah, increasing your capacity for that so that again you can be reminded that it may feel like you're gonna die, but you won't.
Mm-mm.
You won't.
No, you
You'll make
won't.
it.
We'll make it. We will make it. And a practical way that you can do that is actually finding something that you think is boring or are afraid could be boring or uncomfortable or I'm not uncomfortable, like uncertain and sticking it out and actually practicing that thing and doing that thing regularly and consistently um, to tolerate the discomfort and to be able to feel that like okay this was uncomfortable but then it passed or didn't I didn't die. So if there are we talked a couple episodes ago about like me sitting down and doing my budget.
Mhm.
We certain tasks around your house that you find really boring or that you um don't really want to do. Again, just practicing as a way to get used to that feeling and
Yeah.
again notice that you're not going to die. We have here like kind of hold your feet to the fire on that. um Kind of stick it out. I think I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or if I just talked to you about it. There was a workout program that I did. It was so boring. It was so boring. It was on Peloton and it was so boring. And it was like 5 weeks, might have been longer,
I think you did tell me about this.
3 to 4 days. It's Power Zone if anybody's listening, um, that loves the Peloton. And it's just really boring. The music's not great. The way that you ride is really boring. It's just kind of like these zones. Like it's
And Camille's face, y'all. She just
but I
disgusting.
did it and like I stuck it out and I dreaded getting on that bike to do those rides, but I did it. And honestly, it actually is a memory and experience that means a lot to me because it really reminded me that like I didn't die.
Yeah.
I felt really accomplished doing the program. It's a popular program. A lot of people do Power Zone. I felt accomplished that I checked it off. I felt proud of myself that I finished these 5 weeks that were hard. I learned a lot. It's a program that you learn a lot of technique. So like there were positives to this experience that I would have, if I would have just quit after like the first or second ride, I would have missed those positive experiences or those gains that I got. But so picking those things that you know might be boring. And then even I liked what you said earlier about even the uncertainty thing. So like if there are plans or letting yourself not know, like letting
Yeah.
yourself not be in charge of the itinerary, letting yourself not be in charge of where we're going to dinner tonight and what time is the reservations, like letting yourself take the back seat of to practice the uncertainty, to get used to that was uncomfortable. It's not my favorite way of being, but here were some positives that happened as a result. And I didn't die and I can do it again next time if I need to.
Just laughing at you pointing out the positives from it.
There's a spectrum, Kim.
Okay. Awareness, as you know, is a big deal. It's important to be aware um, for all of us. And it's important to be awareness is an important um, tool to have when you're doing any type of healing work, growth work, self development. Um, I mean, frankly, this may be my personal opinion, but just really just being a good human requires some awareness, and so um, oftentimes that requires us slowing down. And I think that this is where it can be especially applicable to our sevens. Um, is slowing down enough to be aware. Like Camille said, you're scrolling and you see something that is uncomfortable, not fun, and you speed up right? How you're scrolling. And so just that is an example like of how yeah, how speed can play a role. And so to counter that, slowing down, again, this is their head triad. So this is another way I like to use the Enneagram in practice is, whatever instinctual triad you're in, um, tapping into the other triads is a way to bring about balance. And so for our sevens and fives and sixes, the types in the head triad, intentionally slowing down and getting into your body more, getting into your heart more as a way to also practice being aware. So, some of our favorite tools that we've mentioned, use a feelings wheel. I've had more and more clients tell me that they have a feelings wheel pillow.
Yeah, I've seen it. I can
Mhm.
send you the link.
Yep, get you one of those, to really help you with checking in with your heart space. Do a body scan, take a walk, mindfully do something to help you to check in and get in touch with and attune with your body.
hmm there's also a feelings wheel that I like. It's up in my office here that is the feelings and also body sensations.
Mm.
It can also tap you into your physical feelings that you're having in your body. Um, and I loved the intervention that we did a couple of not seasons, episodes ago where it was like heart, body,
Mhm.
mind. And so again, like tapping into those other centers of intelligence would be important. But yeah, I remember I had a therapist that I met with, and I was talking like I do, doing all my little cognitions and thoughts, and she goes, "Camille, how can you check in with your heart space?" And I remember like being like, "Excuse me," like like you want me to do what? Like tap into the place that I feel the least confident, like
Yeah,
and just again, even the like aversion to her asking that
yeah.
question, and then the intentionality that I really had to like put my hand on my heart, get quiet. Oh, I'm sad. Like and so for sevens and so many of us, like really being intentional about checking in with your heart space, your body. That was another thing that is important for us to work on and that I've had to work on too. Like
Yeah,
how does your body feel? What's happening in your body? Noticing your body because
yeah,
we are so in our head as sevens that it can just be thoughts, all thoughts, and not the feelings or the somatic sensation. So I think this whole season, go back to listen to other episodes. We've done such, I feel like props to us. We've done such a great job of like throwing out so many interventions
mhm,
that have gotten people connected to their bodies and their hearts. And so whether it's the grounding, we did that one time, whether it's the like just kind of pausing and doing the deep breathing, like all of that is helpful for all of this stuff.
yeah, and for all of us.
Mhm.
Um, I know, so we're talking about the head triad, but today, like in today's like world, um, you can even just look at the statistics, like we're pretty anxious.
Mhm.
Um, and oftentimes that has a lot to do with our thoughts and fears and worries and kind of how we're processing them. I'm doing this motion with my hand that's like a circle because
Mm.
sometimes that can look like just like ruminating, like it's just
Mhm.
on and on and on and on and on. And so um, I think I've said this before, like asking some of my clients who like most of my clients are black to like check in with your body. It just
Mhm.
feels really, really foreign at first.
Mhm.
A lot of us just don't, it's just something that we're not in the practice of doing. So, yes, I'm proud of how we've really tried to be so intentional in integrating some of these suggestions into the episodes, and very hopeful that that's something that we'll, as a people, that we'll embrace more and do better at for ourselves. It's also I think that's a pretty Western thing too.
Mhm.
We just tend to rely on our minds and thinking and logic and miss out on the wisdom that is in our bodies and in our hearts.
Yes, 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 yes. We talked earlier about gluttony. And so practical tips for sevens would be, first of all, just being aware of it. A lot of seven practical tips a lot of times are going to be first the awareness piece, again, because we do have such access to our brain. That for sevens, I think that once we can like become aware of it, we're pretty good at being like, oh, I'm doing that thing, let me do something different. So I remember learning that, like that, like sometimes for sevens, it's just kind of being aware. And so anyways, grasp for gluttony, same thing, being aware of the gluttony, being aware of when it shows up, when you actually need to slow down and not go into that insatiable need for more. And so we have part of what a practical tip that could be done in that place is actually setting rules and boundaries. And again, practicing what it feels like to have a rule and to have a boundary, knowing that you're not
Mhm.
going to die. But then also just having and leaning into discipline. Discipline is really hard for sevens.
Mhm.
And there are some numbers that are really great at discipline. And so even looking to some of your friends or other
Mhm.
people in your life at how they use discipline in a way that is still intuitive and kind and compassionate. And so doing that for yourself. And so I have on here, like when you have rules around drinking, I know we used the word sobriety earlier, but really paying attention to like, what are my drinking habits? Um, just yeah, just being aware of that and like putting rules on that. Okay, I'm only going to have one drink. I'm only going to have two drinks. I'm going to have
Mhm.
water in between, because the fun can get rolling and that
Mhm.
gluttony, insatiable need for more can definitely happen with drinks.
Mhm.
You're scheduling. Okay, I'm only going to do something one night a week and the rest of the nights I'm going to stay home. I'm going to do two things on the weekend and the rest of the time I'm like trying not to be over scheduled.
Mhm.
The budget stuff. I'm only going to spend this much. In the summer, I did no by July. So, like, having rules for seven is actually really helpful. Again, it teaches us the discomfort of it. It teaches us that we're not going to die from doing it, but it's also just leaning into being aware that the no by July, like I noticed how much I just buy things. Like when I'm having a
Mhm.
need a new shirt, need a new dress, need a new that like again, that gluttony of like, I want more and I'm trying to
Mhm.
have something happy happen in my life. And so being able to say like, nope, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do no by July where I don't buy any clothes for the whole month, just to again, become aware of how automatic that
Yeah.
feeling was of that gluttonous place. So, um, and there's probably other things, exercise, um,
Mhm.
even in conversation sometimes, again, like knowing like, okay, I gotta go, I'm gonna leave this conversation, as opposed to being like, okay, we can stay here for 10 hours. So just noticing and creating rules and boundaries for yourself is helpful.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, yeah, the asking your friends to help, especially when it comes to discipline.
Mhm.
Um, Camille didn't say this, but we have ones.
Yes, ones are, and I have looked to my one friends
Yeah.
with that. But yeah, ones are really great at discipline, and so learning from them um as a way for us to grow is helpful.
And yeah, lastly, um, being aware of how your armor, so this is again referencing Chi Chi Agorum and the Enneagram for Black Liberation. Um, in each chapter of the book, Chi Chi highlights for like each type how important it is for us to be aware of um, all of this stuff, yes, for ourselves, but also for our community. And so how we can, if we're not careful, weaponize our armor. And so for sevens, that can look like not having much tolerance for people who aren't um, actually optimistic, who are maybe pessimistic, or who aren't as gifted as finding the silver lining in challenging hard times. So for sevens to be aware of that um, kind of what judgment or Um, what word would you use?
Judgment, frustration,
Mm,
um, annoyance.
mm, that. Yeah, with
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
A
so
little
being aware of
a
that.
little bit of sadness, a little bit of sadness. I get sad when people do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anything else you wanna add to that?
Yeah. And for, we talked about the body, so learn knowing as a 7, like, noticing how it you I will speak for myself. I have a visceral reaction to it. So when somebody else is really negative or automatically negative or
Mm,
have a hard time with the silver lining, like something inside of me, like, and so like clinches or like bristles. So again, noticing that body reaction and that automatic reaction, and then not jumping into the judgment or the frustration or the disappointment or the sadness that comes with it, but knowing that not everyone's like that, and having grace for other people, and um,
mhm.
yeah, and that it's not always helpful. Like some people don't want that. And some people just really aren't built that way. And
Yeah.
it is what it is. So, but not using that as a weapon, not using it as a way to create more distance or to get mad at somebody, but just to just notice that it is a difference between people and it doesn't have to be a weapon.
How did we do?
I think good.
I think we did great.
Mhm.
Shout out to Sevens.
Yay.
Well, we only have one episode left.
One episode left, and then we're done with season 2. So thanks for rocking with us and all the way around. And it's been a fun season so far. We don't have to say our goodbyes yet, but just fun
We're
season.
almost there though, huh?
What'd you say?
So we're almost there.
Almost there.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for doing this with me, Camille, again. And I guess that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
We'll see y'all in the next final episode for season 2.
See you on the next episode. Bye.